Hi all my crafty friends out there. Today I'm going to show you a couple of Valentine ideas that I had. So I got this little wooden heart from the Dollar Tree. I just love how it is. It's really farm chic like, shabby chic too. It's just a really cute heart. So today I am going to use antique white and burnt umber. I'm going to show you how I quickly stain a board. I just use like a wet rag, or you can use a baby wipe and you put the paint on and then you just rub it on. I love to stain this way because it's so much easier and it dries faster and you don't have the smell. Next up, we're going to paint the heart antique white, and you want to make sure that if you need to, you may need to sand the heart. Sometimes it's a little rough, but mine was okay, so I didn't have to sand it. And we're just gonna paint this the whole entire heart, sides, and you don't really need to paint the back side because that is going to be on the board. But I believe I paint it anyways, but that's okay. So you just want to make sure you put a nice healthy layer of paint on, and you want to make sure that you get the sides as well. Just like sometimes the sides soak in the paint more than the top, but I think that the antique white looks really cute on this heart. And you want to just make sure that you get all of the pieces, and you may have to do 2 coats. I believe I ended up having to do 2 coats. I had to add a little more paint on the sides because it was really soaking through, but that is fine, and you just want to make sure. So next up, we're going to use this berry garland. I got that at the Dollar Tree as well. It has some glitter on it, so if you don't like glitter, I wouldn't recommend using this, but I think that it's cute. So you just have to unwind it. It's wrapped up kind of weird. And we just have to, what I'm going to do is I'm just taking the berry garland and I'm cutting it into strips. But first up, we are going to hot glue this heart onto that piece of brown stained wood, scrap wood that I had. You want to make sure you put a pretty healthy layer of hot glue on there just to make sure that it stays on the board really well, and push down on it. I am using my finger protectors because I burnt myself really well the other day, and it reminded me, oh, why don't we use those finger protectors that I got at the Dollar Tree as well. So you just want to make sure that you push down on the heart and it's very stuck on there. Then we're going to take the berry garland and we're going to cut it into strips. And I'm going to just hot glue strips of that berry garland along the heart. You can do this any way that you would like. I just ended up doing it this way because this is what I liked. And but you kind of just glue and you just hot glue it on the sides, and you just want to hold on to the berry garland once you do get it hot glued on there, just for a couple seconds, just to make sure that it stays and it doesn't come off. It does take a little bit. I think I did about 4 or 5 of them on there, and this is how it turned out. I really love it. It's very rustic, and I can't wait to display this at my house. I did add an extra berry layer on the top because I liked how it came out. Next up is another craft that I came up with. I'm going to call it conversation hearts. I am using that same staining method, except for this time I put it in a little container with some water and the burnt umber. And then I just am using a baby wipe and just going along on these wooden boxes that I got at the Dollar Tree. They were the shadow boxes, but I just took out the picture and I'm just using the inside part of that. So you want to make sure that you stain all sides of the including the bottom, and make sure that you do take that sticker off. Sometimes you have to use a little glue gun if the sticker, or you can heat it up with a hair dryer and that will help get that sticker off as well. So just make sure that you stain all sides, and you also get the top as well. And next up, I have these little hearts that I got at the Dollar General. I had to take them apart. They were on like a little string, and I got there was 3 of them on there, and I just cut them off. We're going to attach them to some brown craft paper to cover up the colored side, because I'm going to use the back side. So we do that, and all you got to do is hot glue it onto the craft paper. And then you take a little cutting knife that I got at the Dollar Tree, and I cut around the heart to get it off. And of course you want to do this to all 3. You just want to hot glue them down really nicely onto that craft paper, and this just gives it a really nice finished look on the back as well. So once we get these all glued on, then I will be showing you how I use my little craft knife to cut them out. So I think that they're all pretty much glued on. And now I'm taking this little knife that I got at the Dollar Tree, and I'm just cutting around the edges of it. It makes like a really clean cut, so it looks really nice and it gets it nice and even. Sorry for my big head in the way, but I had to do it this way. So we're just going to cut all the way around all 3 of them. And you may have to cut off a little extra on the sides as well. But now we are going to paint them. I'm using spring green. And I believe I also used antique white mixed in with a little bit of light yellow. And I also used light pink to paint all 3 of the hearts. Those colors just reminded me of conversation hearts. So those are the colors I chose, but you can definitely use whatever color you would like. And you just want to make sure that you put a nice layer. I ended up doing 2 coats on each of the hearts, and you want to make sure that you get the sides as well. And so that's what I'm doing here, and just making sure that it's all covered. And in between each layer, you want to make sure that it dries. I use my hair dryer just to dry. It saves time. So, got them all painted. Now I am just taking my sander. I use an emery board to sand because I find it to be easier. This will also take off the extra craft paper if there is any, but I just like to sand the sides. I like it to make it look a little more rustic, but that is my style. If you don't like rustic look, then you don't need to sand. And then we just go around the heart, each heart. And next up, we're using the pink. This pink, it's like, I forget the color of it, but it's just like a darker pink, and we're going to use a stencil that I got at the Dollar Tree. I really like this stencil because it just reminded me of how the conversation hearts look. And we're just going to apply the stencil. I believe I put hugs and X and O for hugs and kisses, hug me and kiss me on each of them. So you just want to make sure that I stenciled each of them at different times so that they had time to dry in between. And then once I got them all stenciled, then I just filled it in with my pink paint. I also and now we are using some of this craft foam. I just use one of my big popsicle sticks to cut through that. And all you have to do is just cut it, because we are going to put this in the inside of our wooden boxes for the hearts to stand in. So then you just want to measure, and then you'll have to cut a little excess off, and you're going to do that for each of the boxes. And just this stuff kind of makes me itch a little bit, and it does make a mess, but that's okay. It's well worth it. Now we're going to put a healthy amount of hot glue on the bottom of each of the foam blocks, and we're going to attach them to the inside of the boxes, the wooden boxes that we stained. And you want to just push down and make sure that it holds. It's pretty good in there. So you're going to do that for all 3 of the boxes. And so now we are going to attach these skewer sticks that I had just laying around, and I also stained them with the burnt umber as well. So we're just going to attach them onto the backs of the hearts with some hot glue, and you just want to put it down kind of starting at the top and making your way down to the bottom. And I just push down on the skewer stick to make sure that it holds, and I keep a hold of it for just a little bit. And don't forget your finger protectors, because those will save your fingers. So you just want to make sure that you push down enough pressure to make sure that it's going to stay. And you'll want to do this for each of the hearts. And then that's how they looked. So I put them inside the boxes, and I ended up cutting down the skewer sticks because I didn't like how high they were in the box. So I just cut them. You could make them at different lengths. I kind of just made them all at the same size, and I did that for all 3. And here I am cutting. I just used my pruning shears that I got at the Dollar Tree, and then I did it for all 3, and I set them in front of me just to see how they were looked, and I love them. So now I'm going to attach these wooden hearts that I got at the Dollar Tree. I just love them. I love the little wooden design, and I wanted it to be on the front of the box because it just kind of looked plain, and I wanted to add a little more dimension to the boxes. So I attached each of them onto the front of the boxes, and each of them had a little different design in them, which I really liked. I thought that it gave it a nice look. So after that, I got some of the Spanish moss, and I wanted to stick it down inside the boxes just to cover up that foam and to cover up, to make it look a little more upscale, I guess. And so I just get my scissors, and I end up cutting. I just cut that. The Spanish moss makes a big mess, but it is worth it in the end because I think that it came out really nice. So you're just going to want to push that down into each of the 3 boxes. And I am doing that. I didn't hot glue mine in. You could if you wanted to, but I didn't. I just ended up just adding it to each of the boxes, and I added as much as I thought. It was like just at the top of the box, and just kind of fluffed it up a little bit. And I just love how these came out. They do remind me of conversation hearts, and I can't wait to put these on display. I also took a fine tip Sharpie marker, and I went around just so that it outlined the letters a little bit better because I think it made it shine up a little bit. So I hope you guys liked all of my crafts today. Thank you.